Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Please, if you are new here, kindly subscribe to my channel. Thank you. So today we're going to go through the first step of preparing a data for analysis, and that step is called the ETL process, which means to extract, to transform and to load data. So in this process we're going to explore the data, which is called EDA, exploratory data analysis. We're going to clean, transform and load the data into Excel. Some data sets requires deep cleaning and transformation, while others do not. The data set we'll be working with is a restaurant data set, and I have made it in such a way that we'll be able to go through the major cleaning process so that you can understand how to clean the data set. So this is the data set we'll be cleaning. It's a restaurant sales data set. We have the order to the products to the sales price, the profits. So we'll be cleaning this data set using powerquery. Like I said, before you even start cleaning, it's good to analyze the data that you're about to clean, at least to see what the data set is about. So for this, we have our order ID, we have our product ID. Now for this order ID, we're going to use this as our primary key. So I'm going to check through this. Just click on Control Shift, then your down arrow, then you go to conditional formatting, go to highlight cell rules, and then go to duplicate values. So if there are any duplicate values, you want it to highlight it red, but if there are no duplicate values, then you are good to go. So since there are no duplicate values here, we're going to use this as our primary key. And then the product ID, like I said, a primary key must not have duplicates, and there must be no empty cell, that is no null value. So if we're going to use this order ID as our primary key, it means that there are no duplicates and there are no null values. So next we go to the product ID. Now let's apply the filter here so that we can see. So for this product ID, you can see they all have a percentage in front of them, which is wrong. We're going to correct that in the Power Query. Next we have dates. This is our dates. We have the year here shows 2023, and then January and February. Next we have the products. For the products, these are our products. Okay, so we're going to analyze them in Power Query. We have the quantity, we have the cost price, and the cost price we have 800 to 300,000. Now there's something called an outlier, okay, in a data set. This 300,000 is not correct, it's an outlier in a data set. An outlier means values that are different from most of the other data in the data set. So this value is extremely different, so it makes it an outlier, meaning that is an error, and we're going to correct that in Power Query. So we just continue, we check the TCP, and then the same thing, there are two outliers here. Okay, we'll correct that. We check the selling price, there's one here, we'll correct that. So you can also create a note as you're analyzing this. You can create a note, just bring up a notepad like I'm doing now. You can bring up a notepad like this, and then just write a summary of your analysis here. So you're giving a summary so that when you start transforming and cleaning your data, you will not miss a step. So it's advisable to give a summary here. I'm going to do that in another video. I'm going to do that in a different video where I would do a summary of what I'm doing. But in this video, because of time, I'm just going to go straight to Power Query for the cleaning process. So I'm going to close this. Then for us to start our cleaning process, don't forget, if you are working with a data set, do not work with the original data set given to you by a client. Always create another workbook. For that, keep the original and create another workbook for your cleaning. So I'm going to have created one here, so I'm going to use it. So for you to For you to go into Power Query, you go to data, click on data, and then you see new query. For some people's Excel, you'd see get data, so you click on get data, and then when you click on get data or new query, for me, then you go to from file and then choose from workbook. Okay, so you can actually choose, there are different files you can choose from CSV, different files, but we're using Excel workbook. So wherever you have saved the original file, you are going to look for it and then select it. So this is my own restaurant sales. I'm going to click on this and then import into my Power Query. Okay, this particular file is in the description box below. If you want to work with it, you can go there and download it so that you can work with it. So here we have our Power Query navigator. So we're going to select this sheet, which is the one we're working with, and then the preview will show here. Once it's here, you can now edit. For some people's system, you would see transform, but for mine is edit, so it's the same thing. Transforming and editing is the same. So it takes us to our Power Query editor. Now this Power Query editor is a fast way of editing your data sets. Okay, and once you are here in this Power Query editor, you can't open another Excel file until you close this Power Query editor. So here by the right hand side, we have the query settings, where you have whatever action you do on this editor, it will show here in these applied steps. So you cannot go back, you cannot move forward, you cannot use the undo or the redo button. You can only delete a step. If you have done a step and you don't want that step, you can delete that step. Let me just give you an example. Let's say, for example, I delete column 2. I'll select column 2, right click on it, and then I say remove column. So if that's a mistake and I want to correct that, I just come to this applied steps and delete this step that I took, and then you see column 2 will appear again. So that's how the query settings, the query editor, Power Query editor works. So now that we are here on the Power Query editor, we can now start our cleaning process. Now there are steps that we are going to take in cleaning this data set. I have already written those steps, accumulated those steps down in the description box below, so you can go through the description and go through the steps one by one, but I'm just going to go straight into it. So the first step we're going to take here is to delete the top rows. As you can see, we have the top rows null values. These top rows are not needed for this data, so we are going to just select anywhere, then go to in the home menu. You can see I'm in the home menu. Go to remove rows, click on that and say remove top rows. So a box will come up, a dialog box, and then you can select how many rows would you like to delete. You can count from 1 to 6. The first 6 rows are empty, so I'm going to say 6 and then click on OK. So it removes that. So I can use this filter to check if there are any null. So you can see this null is still showing here. There's still a null value there, and I don't know, so we can cancel this and check. Let's check number 2, column 2. You can see the null value is still there. You can cancel this. So we can go down and you can see the null values from 51 to 53. So there are you can see 53 rows and 11 columns. Now for this, it's supposed to be just around 50 rows, because 51 to 53 are showing null values. So again, you go to remove rows and then say remove bottom rows, and then you select the bottom 3 and say OK. So it removes that for you, and your rows are 50. So you now have 50 rows to work with. So the next step is our first step. We deleted the top rows, then we removed the bottom rows. Next step, we are going to replace these headers. I'm going to replace this first row with headers, because this order ID, product ID, these are supposed to be the headers. So I'm going to put them at the top. So what you do is simply go to the transform. Under the home menu bar, you see transform section here, and then you see here they wrote use first row as headers. Click on the arrow down and click on use first row as headers. So it will automatically replace your headers with the first row. So you can see now we have our headers replaced with the first rows. Please don't forget these steps that I'm taking. I have mentioned it in the description below. You can go through it after the class or when you are doing it on your own. So the next thing is that we're going to identify. We have already identified our primary key to be the order ID. We have done that when we're going through the data. And then a primary key must not have duplicates, and there must be no null values in a primary key, that is no empty cell. The next thing is we are going to the next cell. Before we move to the next cell, the next column, we have to check our order ID, the data type of our order ID. Now our data type, which is here, is text, and that's correct. Normally some people would be like, why is it text? These are numbers. Yes, they are numbers, but they are not meant for calculation. They are a primary. This is our primary key, and you don't use the primary key to calculate anything, like do any aggregates. Okay, you can only count them. You can't do any aggregates on them. So for that reason, would you make the data type text, would leave it at text data type to be safe. And then the product ID, we move to the product ID, and then this product ID, there's something wrong with it. The percentages are not meant to be there. It's supposed to be just these numbers, okay, representing the product ID. Now for us to remove these percentages, you can just highlight on this product ID column and then go to split column by delimiter. So our delimiter is whatever you are using to separate two characters. So in this case, what is separating the percentage and this number is a space. So I'm going to select, click on this arrow down and choose space, and then leave it at each occurrence of the delimiter and say OK. So it's going to separate this percentage and these numbers for me. So I don't need this percentage, so I'm going to delete it, select it, right click on it and remove. And then we're left with product ID. Just remove these two, just leave it as product ID. Okay, so these are the product ID. These are the product IDs, and then these product IDs are unique to each product. For example, you have products yam, potato, they have unique product IDs. So for that reason, and we're not going to use this product ID for any calculation, so for that reason I'm going to change the data type of this to text. So I'm going to come here, data type, and change it to text. Perfect. Now for the date is just fine. I don't think there's any issue here. Let's filter this and see. So we have from 2nd of January down to 19th of February 2023. We can check if there are any outliers. Okay, there's none. There are no outliers, so that's just perfect. All we have to do is change the data type to date. So I'm going to change the data type to a date data type. Next we'll go to products. Now let's filter and see. So under this product we have yam, coconut rice, fried rice, okra, beans. We have beans is appearing twice, and then we have coconut rice appearing twice. It's not supposed to appear twice, they're supposed to appear just once. We have yam appearing here, we have 2 fried rice appearing, which is not correct. So this is supposed to filter it to appear once. Supposed to the products are meant to appear once when you filter. So what the problem here is that there's some of the products, there are spaces in front of it. For example, this yam, there is a space before the yam, and there might be another yam that there is a space after, and there might be the correct yam without space in front or at the back. Again, if you check this fried rice too, there's a space in front of it, so we want to remove this space so that we can have just one product and not duplicates of this product. So I'm going to select this product and then right click and go to transform and then go to trim. You use this trim when you are dealing with text data type. When you are dealing with text, then you use this trim to remove any unwanted spaces. Okay, so I'm going to trim this and then it will remove all these unwanted spaces, and then I can go back to filter and see, and here you can see I have just one beans appearing, I have one yam appearing down here, one rice and beans, and one fried rice. So yes, so we are correct. So I'll say okay. So next we are going to the quantity, and then okay, yes, so this product is in text. Make sure you change the data type accordingly, and then next we'll go to the quantity data type. Okay, the quantity column, sorry. So for this quantity column, we're going to again filter to see. Now there's an outlier here which is showing 100,000. So this 100,000 is wrong, so we're going to correct that. Now how do we correct that? We're going to find the median. You can use average, mean, or median to find a value, a random value to fit in there. Now if you have so many outliers in a column, it is advised for you to check the data that you have collected. If you are going to, you can even ask for a correct data from your stakeholder, whoever has given you, from your client. You can ask them to correct the data set, because you can't work with a data set with so many outliers. But if you have 1 or 2 or 3 outliers in a column, you can work with that. You can use the median or the average to find a value for it so that you can work with it. So we're going to find the median of this column quantity. So when you highlight on this, go to transform here in your menu bar, and then go to statistics, then go to median, click on median. So the median here is 3, which is showing you here 3. So I'm going to go back and I'll delete this step that I've taken. I just want to know the median. I'll delete it, so it takes me back to my file, and then now I would click on the quantity and then right click on this, then go to replace values. Okay, I'm going to replace that 100,000 with 3. So I'm going to replace the 100,000 with 3. And then say okay. So once that is done, you can filter and go through. There's no more 100,000 there, so we are done with that. And then let's check on the data type. Make sure it's whole number. So I'm going to choose whole number here for the quantity. Perfect. So next we'll go to the cost price stroke portion. Now for this, we can filter to see. Now there's one outlier here showing 300,000. Cancel. Now for this cost price, we're going to use the same median to find that. So go to transform, go to statistics, and then click on median. We choose the median value is 2,500. So we're going to delete that step that we took, so it takes us back to our file, and then come back to this. You can either, since there's just 300,000 there, you can also click on this value and then right click to replace that value, or you can select the whole column. So here I'm going to replace it with 2,500 and say okay. Okay, so the cost price per portion is done. We'll change data type now to currency. Perfect. So now we move to TCP, the total cost price, which we are multiplying by this quantity. So we have some outliers here again. I'm going to go through this. So we have 2 outliers here. We have 2.4 million and we have 250 million, if I'm not mistaken. So for this we have 2.4 million here, which is an outlier. Now for the TCP, we got it this we got this column by multiplying the cost price and the quantity. So we're going to manually multiply these two together. 25 times 8. I've done that already. So 2,500 times 8 is 20,000. So I'm going to replace this value with 20,000. Just right click and click on replace value and make it 20,000. Okay, and then press enter. And then next is this value again. 2,500 times 3 is supposed to give us this answer. Now because I'm using 2016 Microsoft Excel version, that's why I'm not able to do the calculation here. But if you are using Microsoft Excel 2021 or 365, you'll be able to do your calculation here without doing it separately. So I'm actually using a calculator to do my own calculation separately and putting it in here. But if you are using, it's advisable to use an advanced Microsoft Excel. But if you don't have that, you can still make do with what you have. So 2,500 times 3 will give us 75. So I'm going to just right click on that and then go to replace values, and then I'll replace that with 7,500 and press enter. So that is replaced. And then finally I'm going to check the data type and change it to currency. Perfect. So next we're going into the selling price per portion. For the selling price per portion, we only have one outlier here, which is 400,000. We're going to check for the mean of this value of this column. So just highlight that column, go to transform, go to statistics and check the median. So let's use the median. Median value is 4,000. So we're going to, the median value is 4,000. So we're going to delete this step that we've taken. So it takes us back to our table, and then we replace that 400,000 to 4,000. Just click on it, right click on it, go to replace values. So we're replacing it with 4,000. Perfect. So next is our VAT column. So here we also have outlier, which is this last one, 28,000 naira. It's an outlier. It's supposed to be 7% of the selling price. The VAT is supposed to be 7%. So 7% of this should not be giving 280,000. So to correct this, we are going to multiply this 4,000 by 7%. I'm going to do this manually with my calculator. 280. So I'm going to replace this 28,000 to 280. 7% of 4,000 is 280. I'm going to replace that. Okay, so next is the TSP, the total sales price. So we can filter and see what we have there. We have outliers. Yes, we do. We have this 1.6 million, and then we have this number here. So we'll just go and check. For our TSP is supposed to be 3,000 plus 210, which is the VAT, times the quantity. So I'm going to do that manually for this. So I'm going to say 4,000 plus 280 is 4,280 times the quantity of the product that was ordered is 4. So we're going to multiply 4,280 times 4. We have 17,120. So I'm replacing this value, right click and replace with 17,120. Okay, next. Okay, next is this value is 4,000 plus 280, which 4,280 times the quantity is 3. So we have 4,280 times 3 is 12,840. So we're replacing that with 12,840. Okay, perfect. So make sure we change all of this to, make sure you change the data type to currency. Always check your data type, very important. change it to currency. Okay, so finally we have the profits, and we have how many outliers do we have there. We have this first one minus 235, that's an outlier, and then we have this last one, and we have 1.6 million, and then this value, these are outliers. So to correct that, for the profit is the TSP minus TCP. So it's this value minus this TCP value, total selling price minus cost price. So again, we are going to do that manually. Now if you are using an advanced Excel, you should be able to do it. You should be able to subtract a column from another column, but because I'm using 2016, I don't have that, so that's why I'm doing it manually. So here I'm going to subtract this 17,120 minus 10,000. okay, that will give me 7,120. So I'm going to replace this value with 7,120. Okay, and the next is this. I'm going to subtract this value 20,000 from this value, so we'll be left with 20,350. So I'm going to replace this with 20,350 and say okay. Okay, so we have another one here. So we're going to subtract the TCP, which is 7,500, from 12,840, which is 5,340. So I'm going to replace this with 5,340. Perfect. So let's check our filter and see. Okay, so yes, there are no more outliers, so we can say okay. Perfect. So this is our file. We have done our cleaning. We have cleaned this file, we have transformed this file, and now we're about to load it into our Microsoft Excel. So the processes we took: we deleted the top rows and the bottom rows, and then we replaced the headers. We identified our primary key, and we made sure there are no duplicates, and we made sure that there are no null values. Then we trimmed the product column. We did trimming, and trimming is used for a column that has a text column, okay, to remove unwanted spaces. And then next we checked the mean or the median value in order to correct the outliers, okay. And then we also did some calculation there. We splitted this product ID by delimiter, and then what else? We made sure that the data types are correct for all the columns, and then after that we can now close and load. All of these steps that I've mentioned are in the description box down below. You can go through them. So next, the final step, will close and load. We have successfully cleaned our data. Now we'll close and load. So this is our data. This is our data set, and you can see here it's showing 49 rows, which is correct. So we can close this box here, and then we have all of our data sets. Okay, so this is we have done the ETL process in this data set. We're done for today. So if you enjoy this class, if you enjoy this, please leave your comments down below. If you want me to create the data model and the visualization of this data that we have just cleaned, please leave a comment down below so that I can do that in my next video. Also leave a like and then share this video. Thank you very much, and see you next time. Bye bye.